If you're looking for a solo build for the Elder Scrolls Online with so much damage reduction and self-healing that it's basically impossible to die, then I have got the build for you. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. HTM here. I have been testing builds on the public test server for weeks now. What I've come up with here may be one of the most unique solo builds ever on this channel. It's incredibly easy to play, requiring only one skill bar, no bar swapping, and no trials gear necessary. Plus you can build this powerhouse on any class in the game, though I decided to go with the Warden class for reasons you'll see in just a minute. But as always, I'll go over everything you need to know to make this build work, including gear sets, skills, champion points, and a whole lot more, and all of that is coming up next. Alright everybody, here we are checking out a brand new build for the Elder Scrolls Online. This is called the Sentinel build, and this is going to be a pretty unique solo and potentially group build. Currently I'm using this on the Stamina Warden, but you'll have the option to play this on other classes. And this build is going to be focused on the new scribing system, giving you access to a very powerful spammable ability from the Fighters Guild skill line. So it's a brand new skill called Torchbearer. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and check out the buff stats on this build. Not much that we need to buff actually, but checking out the stat sheet, we've got about 15,000 max magicka, 26,000 max health. That should go up a bit. Yeah, 28,000 max health fully buffed. Over 30k max stamina. Very good recoveries as well. This increases with a potion also. Spell damage, 45, almost 4,600 weapon and spell damage, 60% crit chance, and almost 30k spell resistance. That goes up actually when we use our main spammable ability. So that'll sit us right at about 32, almost 33,000 physical and spell resistance. So pretty good stats overall, I would say, for a solo build. Tons of survival and damage. Now, I do have the stamina focus, like I said, so you'll want 64 points into max stamina here. I am using the Artaeum takeaway broth as my food. That just gives me the stamina recovery, a bit more health recovery as well. If that's too expensive, go ahead and use the Dubious Cameron Throne. That's totally fine. Now, as you can see, we have a ton of other major and minor buffs here. This is because this is a 1-bar build using the Oaken Soul Ring, so this is where I'm getting all of those buffs from. But in terms of the Mundus Stone, you will want the Thief Mundus to boost that crit chance as high as possible. Over 60% is nice. Now for soloing more difficult content, I am using the armor bonus for the Essence of Health. So basically your armor potion, this gives you health recovery, and then boosts your spell and physical resistance by 50 to 80. This is a separate armor buff that stacks with major resolve. So it comes in very nicely on this build with all the other damage reduction that we have access to, which you'll see in a minute. So if you're curious on how to make that, I'll have the recipe in the written guide. Link for that will be down in the description below. Now, what race do I recommend for this build? Well, any race is honestly fine. I did go with Khajiit. I think the extra crit damage that we have on this setup, especially if you want to play solo, this is going to help your damage quite a bit. And that comes from the passive called Feline Ambush. So 12% bonus critical damage and critical healing. Like I said, very handy if you plan on playing solo. Another race that I would recommend, since we have the stamina focus, is going to be Orc for the extra stamina and health, and a little bit of extra healing that you get when you deal damage as an Orc is going to be nice on this build as well. Now, but I think that covers the basics, so let's talk about the gear sets next. Now, I led off by talking about the Oaken Soul Ring. I wanted to make this build as simple as possible. I think I managed to do that, and it's because of the Oaken Soul Ring. When we're using Torchbearer as the main spammable, it is a channeled ability. You don't have a lot of time to do other things if your main spammable is a channel, so I figured having all of these buffs really made the most sense in terms of simplifying the build and the rotation. So I do recommend that. Make sure you pick this up if you don't have it yet. It's great for solo content, great for group content. Cannot say enough about this mythic item. I got that with a weapon damage enchant, and I just left the infused trait on there. That's totally fine. Now, our main 5-piece set is going to be the Crafted Order's Wrath. This is just very simple to produce. You can probably buy this on Guild Traders as well. And as you saw, I am running it as a sword and shield set, so a little bit more defensive, a little bit more tanky. I thought it fit with the theme of the build. I went with Infused here to help a little bit with the stamina sustain. You could, of course, do Precise. You could even do something like Defending if you don't want to run an armor potion. Anything here really is fine. Divines on the shield is going to be nice to max out that crit chance, and we do have a stamina glyph on the shield as well. So this is going to cover 2 pieces of Order's Wrath. And then I crafted 2 heavy pieces. So I've got the Chest of Order's Wrath. I've got a tri-stat enchant there with reinforced, a little bit extra armor. Again, you can tweak these traits any way you want, but I wanted to try to get close to that resistance cap if I could. Then I've got a heavy legs in Divines. This also has the tri-stat enchant. And finally, a light waist, also in Divines with the basic stamina enchant. So if you don't know this set, it is great for solo content. It's great for group builds because it gives you so much crit chance and crit damage, which is what this particular setup is focused on. Second 5-piece set is going to extend that focus. This is the Leviathan set. Comes from the base game. It's a dungeon set. It's pretty easy to farm. So this gives us max stamina and then just tons more crit chance. This is a medium armor set, and I'm running a combination of jewelry and body pieces. So 2 pieces on the jewelry, the Leviathan necklace and a ring. I did change one of these to Bloodthirsty for just a little bit extra execute damage. The other one I just left as robust because that's a max stamina enchant. We need more stamina on this build, so that is helpful. And then weapon damage glyphs on all the jewelry, by the way. And then you just need 3 more pieces on the body. So you can go with boots, you can go with Leviathan legs, and then Leviathan shoulders. That's probably optimal in terms of like the armor weights. And then since we're running that mythic, we really just have 1 piece left over. We got a medium slime craw mask here for the extra, again, crit chance. I did use a tri-stat glyph here too because the head gives you the extra stats there on the glyph. So that is the setup. Again, we got the Oaken Soul ring, 5 pieces of Leviathan, 5 pieces of Order's Wrath with your monster set, 1 piece bonus from Slimecraw. If you have any questions on that, or if you want to see some alternate gear options, I will have the link down below for the written guide. Make sure you check that out for alternate gear and skills. Okay, so let's get into the very simple skill loadout next. Again, just a 1-bar build for the Stamina Warden. Super simple. We are starting with a Magicka skill though, so Deep Fissure I felt went really well with that Torchbearer skill. This is going to debuff the armor of everything in front of us, actually with 2 debuffs. So it's Major Breach and Minor Breach. It's about 9,000 armor penetration, of course, applied to your target. It does a big burst of upfront damage and then does a second wave of damage after 6 seconds. And really, I just wanted something with passive damage because our main attack, I don't want to be pressing other buttons a lot. I want to focus on longer lasting effects, dots, and things that cast automatically, like Deep Fissure. So this is a great skill. Of course, the fact that it costs Magicka is actually even better because we're going to help to spread out our resources, have better sustain that way. So this is really good. This comes from Animal Companions. And again, Deep Fissure is the morph that I recommend for this build. Next up, another Animal Companion skill called Growing Swarm. This is your 3rd ability that you unlock, and this is a damage over time. Does really great bleed damage. It can also infect nearby enemies. It applies minor vulnerability on your main target. That increases their damage taken. So make sure you apply this to the boss or any elite enemies. So nice long duration, very easy to maintain, and extra damage on this build. So it is perfect. Now next we have our main heal. This is sort of a burst heal / emergency heal and a nice little dot as well. So you want to make sure you maintain this also for the full duration. This is Arctic Blast. This is another Warden ability. Comes from the Winter's Embrace skill line, your 3rd ability here. Huge tooltip on this, and since we have such high crit chance, this regularly heals you for 20k plus health. So it's really easy to survive on this build, especially considering how much health we can get on the Warden. But like I said, make sure you maintain this even if you don't need the healing, because you do get the extra dot effect. Oh, and it does stun as well. I forgot to mention that. You can stun nearby enemies, which is really helpful as well. 3rd ability is Torchbearer, and let me show you how I've set this up with scribing. There's tons of possibilities, but for the solo play, I went with bleed damage being our focus script. You can have flame damage, you can do physical damage. Doesn't really matter too much. You can customize that as you want. But the second script, which is called the signature, there's a really good damage reduction component that you can take. This reduces your damage taken currently by 30% for a little over 2 seconds. So while you're channeling that ability, you're taking 30% less damage. You can even light attack weave in between, and you have all that damage reduction going on. So that is why it fits really well, especially for the solo play. And then I did even add minor resolve to this. I thought this just helps even more with the damage reduction. So about 3k bonus physical and spell resistance, and that even lasts for 10 seconds. So it's going to keep going while you do your other dots if you need to heal. etc. You'll get the extra armor from minor resolve. So that's kind of my favorite way of running this skill right now for a solo setup. If you are in a group, you probably don't need the damage reduction. If you're running with a tank or maybe a companion tank, you could swap in something else for that. Just experiment and see what works best for you. And that is in the Fighters Guild skill line, by the way, coming with Gold Road. So you will need scribing. You will need to complete the main scribing quest in order to unlock this. But our final normal ability is another Warden skill. This comes from Animal Companions again. This is called Bullnetch. This is getting a nice little buff in the Gold Road chapter as well. It still gives you good stamina sustain, but if you have no negative effects, it also removes one negative effect from you every 5 seconds, and this is the new part, if you don't have any negative effects, it increases your damage done by 5%. That's not even a named buff, so it will stack with like Minor Berserk that you get from the Oaken Soul Ring. So pretty nice addition to the build there as well. Finally, in terms of the ultimate, you could run the Wild Guardian. That's completely fine. I do like the flexibility of Dawnbreaker of smiting, just a little bit more burst damage. Plus you can do the smiting morph for an additional AoE stun, which can be helpful for some more difficult content where you want more crowd control. But like I said, either option is fine. But now let me show you just how easy the rotation is. You'll only need one buff, right, which is Bullnetch. You can maintain your potion as well, especially if you're using that for the extra armor. Then go ahead and apply your dot to the boss, Deep Fissure, and our Frost dot, and then we're just going to cast that Torchbearer and then light attack in between. Something like that. I'm just going to stand in the red here. I'll show you that I have plenty of tank ability. Got plenty of damage reduction. Of course, use your ultimate when it's up. If your health gets kind of low, you can use that burst heal. But yeah, otherwise it's just channeling that torch, light attacking in between. See, we're already under half health on this boss. You can see the sustain is really good on this build. I'm not even using a stamina or a magicka potion because we've got that channeled skill for our main DPS. And then with those extra magicka skills, our resources are really nicely spread out. So really good sustain, especially on a Warden. Now, in case you want to try this build either before scribing has come out or if you don't have access to the new skills with scribing, I do have a few suggestions for making this build work, because if you don't have access to the new Torchbearer skill, you'll obviously need something else in place of that main spammable ability. Now, if you want to follow the damage reduction theme, which we have on this build, a decent option will be the Deep Slash skill that comes from the One Hand and Shield skill line. Now, this also does AoE damage. It also debuffs enemies with minor maim, reducing their damage done. Though it's not as good as the 30% damage reduction we can get on Torchbearer, it still will definitely help. Now, you may also want to consider using Brawler from the two-handed skill line here, as this will do more damage, plus it will give you a damage shield, which is also helpful for reducing the damage you take when you're playing solo. All right, let's check out the champion points very quickly. As usual, if you'd like to see this in written format for 300, 600, 900, and 1200 champion points, check out the link down below for the written guide where I have everything broken down for you. In terms of the green tree, nothing really new here. This is my standard loadout for green CP, starting with Steed's Blessing, then moving over to Treasure Hunter, then Liquid Efficiency. Those are my recommended 4 in green. All right, in the blue tree, what I recommend is Binding Aura, Mastered Arms, Fighting Finesse, definitely because we have high crit chance. Then the 4th slotted star, really kind of situational. Now, if you are completely solo, what I would recommend is Reaving Blows. This kind of acts as like a mini Ring of the Pale Order almost, because your Torchbearer, your Deep Fissure, even your Dawnbreaker, those are all dealing direct damage, and you'll get healing back from having this CP star slotted. So it really does help a lot keeping your health topped off. That combined with your Warden passives as well makes it really easy to survive on this build. If you are playing with a healer though, you could probably do more damage with something like Wrathful Strikes. So that is what I would use there. Make sure as well you're picking up some of your sub-constellations here. Really important, Staving Death gives you access to Preparation. That's another 10% damage reduction, which again is the focus of this build. Reducing your damage taken as much as possible. So make sure you pick that one up as well. And then in the red tree, I would definitely recommend these three in the top left. So Rejuvenation, Fortified, and Boundless Vitality. Those are kind of the main three. And then based on your race and how the sustain is going, I would use either Siphoning Spells for Magicka Sustain, Bloody Renewal for Stamina Sustain. Now for places like Infinite Archive, any of the arenas where you have lots of enemies, you're probably going to be running low on Magicka sooner than you're going to run low on Stamina. So I would probably prioritize Siphoning Spells. That's what I have right now. I just think it works best. So again, that is the loadout. Feel free to check out the written guide if you want to see a more detailed breakdown, no matter what level that you are. And then last but not least, we can check out the outfit style if you are curious about this look. Weapons, so shield and mace, I am using the Zahn style. I thought that it almost looks like the torch with the flame and everything, so it kind of maintains the overall look of the build. And then for all the body pieces, this is called the Wayward Guardian. That's available in the zone of Markarth. All right, everybody, that is it for this new ESO build for scribing. Hopefully you found this video helpful and it gave you some ideas for where to start when this new update goes live. But if you did enjoy it, do me a favor and crush that like button so that YouTube knows to share this video with others. Make sure to hit subscribe as well to get notified of future ESO builds and guides as soon as they come out. And if you'd like to support the channel further, make sure to check out our YouTube membership, where our Tier 2 Elite Squad members have access to even more unique and off-meta builds, like my recent two-handed Barbarian build, which uses the new two-handed scribing skill called Smash, and is insanely fun to play. But that's all for me. Thanks again for watching. I hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next video.